Hello, and welcome to the Teacher Chris Learn by Play Piano series. This is lesson 6 in the series. Last week was a really exciting week. You were starting to learn to read notes on the staff, and we had the treble clef, which is also called the G clef for the right hand, and then in the left hand we had the F clef, also called the bass clef. Now we're going to do a little bit of review of what to do when you find notes on those clefs in the right hand and clefs in the left hand and how to read those notes. But we're going to do that with the new concept of reading both hands at the same time. Now we're not going to have any songs just yet where both hands are playing both at the same time, although the bonus material today is actually going to give you something fun to do with both hands. So what we're going to do is check out page 32 here. Let's take a look at the grand staff here and see how it's constructed. This is, if you imagine those blue boxes that are on all of the other pages that we've done so far, this whole entire page is a giant blue box. You're going to want to keep referring back to it and checking this out because there's a lot of great information on this page. So first of all, this brace right here kind of looks like a sideways mustache to me. That brace is telling you that this right hand clef and this left hand clef, or the G clef and the bass clef or the F clef, are to be read at the same time, simultaneously. We read it all the way from left to right. Now this chart here has pretty much every single letter on the grand staff here that are fit within these lines. So we have the A, the B, the C, the D, the E, the F, the G, the A, the B in the left hand here, which goes pretty far down the piano. And then we keep going up the piano, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, all the way up the piano a little bit. This isn't every note on the piano. The piano has 88 keys, but this is what we're going to be learning so far. There's other tricks to be able to read those higher notes and those lower notes that we'll get to in future lessons. So we were talking about the importance of middle C last week, and let's look at middle C and let's check this out. First of all, it is another line added to the set of 5 lines and 4 spaces up here. That C right there is basically another line that they're just adding on to it. And the reason why we call it the middle C is not because it's right in the dead center of the piano, although it is kind of towards the center of the piano. It's actually because on the grand staff here, it connects the right hand and the left hand together. If we look at it, here's A at the top line here, then we have B, and now we're connecting the bottom line, or the F clef, the bottom staff, I should say, to the right hand up here, C, D, E. So we have A, B, switch to the right hand, C, D, and E. So the notes that I want you to start to memorize are C, D, E, F, G in the left hand and in the right hand. You can always refer back to this chart to make sure that you're getting the right notes in. So let's go ahead and turn to page 33 and check out the song Position C. So this song is just like the Position C song that you did when it was just the letter names written over the notes. This was about a couple of weeks ago where you had been doing both thumbs on C and then you separated your hands. Now this song does tell you the first 5 notes of the left hand, but then that's it. They don't really give you too many indicators of what the rest of the notes are. They let you know, let's look right here for a second, that this is a C, and they give you C, D, E, F, G as the lyrics. But then after that, you have to know that this is G, and then back down to F, E, D, and then they tell you C right here in the lyrics. So let's go ahead and play this and say the letter names out loud. And this will be your only play along. We're not going to do the metronome. We're not going to do any sort of duet. There's no duet for this. This will just be a nice warm up for you. You just run through and you say the letter names out loud. And in fact, on this one, the play along is going to be super helpful. But your ultimate goal is not to be able to perform it with me like some of the other ones. This one, you're going to want to be able to do this on your own without the play along eventually. That way you'll be saying those letters out loud and really getting a handle on reading those notes. Let's go ahead and try this out. Okay, so I count 1, 2, 3 C positions in the left hand, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's our hand position. And we're going to start with the left hand here, pinky or finger number 5 on C here, like that. And let's go ahead and begin. So 1, 2, ready, play. C, D, E, F, G, 2, 3, 4, and then G, F, E, D, C, 2, 3, 4. Right hand, C, D, E, F, G, 2, 3, 4, and then G, F, E, D, C, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now's the time to pause the video and try this out for just a little bit, and I will see you in a minute. Now, I'll say this again in the assignment, but this is one that I want you to just play one time perfect this week. So you sit down to the piano, and this is the first thing that you do, and you just run through the letters, and you say the counts, and you play the notes, and that'll just be a nice warm-up for you to just kind of get your head in the game and getting ready to play some other notes and read some other music. It'll also really reinforce what these notes are and reading them on the grand staff. So let's turn to page 34 here, and lo and behold, we have another song that you have played in the past. But when you played this song, it was actually just the right hand. And you'll notice on this song, it's actually a little bit different. It starts with not the right hand, but the left hand. And we know that because there's notes on the bottom line next to the F clef or the bass clef for the first 2 measures. And then the third measure and the fourth measure, all of the notes switch up into the top staff and the G clef, and that's going to be the right hand. And then we go right back to the left hand again for 1 measure on the bottom line. And then the next measure after that is going to be right hand. And then we switch right back to the left hand again for the last 2 measures. And then we do the repeat sign. And we do that all over again. Now, you'll notice that there's a duet at the bottom here. And I'll be doing that in the bonus material this week, as well as the play along playlist. All right, let's go ahead and run through the letter names here. I'm going to just say those letters out loud, including the counts as well, but we're going to go really, really slowly with it. So why don't you go ahead and try playing alongside me. So in the left hand here, it starts with finger number 1 here on G. And 1, 2, ready, play. We have a G, then an F, E, and then a D, and go back up to E, F, and then to G for 2 counts, G, 2, right hand, 4th finger, ring finger, F, E, D, back up to E, and then up to F, F, 2, 3, 4. Now left hand thumb on G, finger number 1, G, F, E, D. Then we go to the right hand here, E, D, and then E, and then F, and then we go to G again in the left hand with your thumb, G, F, E, D, C, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now's the time to pause the video and try this out for just a little bit, and I will see you in a minute. Now this one's going to take a little bit of practice, even though you've played it before. You know what the melody's supposed to sound like, but since it's switching back and forth between hands, you're going to have to work on that to smooth it out and get it up to speed. One thing that you may want to try is just practicing the left hand to the right hand to the left hand again in the second line. The left hand goes G, F, E, D, and then it switches really quick to the right hand playing E, D, E, F, and then it switches to the left hand again. So there's a lot of switching back and forth on that particular line, and it's something that you may want to practice just on its own. That means just repeating that section over and over again until it feels really, really comfortable and really smooth. Again, practice isn't just starting in the first measure and then going to the last measure and then trying it again if you didn't get it right. Especially with pieces that are a lot longer now. This is 16 measures long when you do the repeat sign. You really want to practice certain aspects of the song, not just the whole entire thing all at once. But when you're sitting down to the piano, one of the greatest things about practice is that you have full control over what you work on and how you work on it. There's a lot of things that you can do to improve your practice, and they're entirely up to you. Okay. Turning to page 35, we have the song Seesaws, and this one has another one of those blue boxes, and this one's talking about the slur. Now, the slur is a nice arcing line that either goes over or sometimes under the notes. You can see actually in the duet part down below that I have slurs that are going above and also below my staff there. And what's happening is the slur is indicating to you to play everything connected. Now, some people get confused by this and they think that that means that you play one note over top of another note, but that's not actually the case. Instead, what it means is to play a note, and then when you play that very next note, there's no silence at all in between the first note and the second note. The way you actually do this is by imagining a seesaw. So on a seesaw, you have a person sitting over here, and then you have a person sitting over here. And as this person is going down, this person is going up, and then it goes the opposite direction like that, back and forth like that. And that's actually what you want to do with your fingers. So while one finger is about to play the note and pushing down to play the note, the other finger is pulling up like so. And that's how you get a very even slur between notes. Let me show you on the piano how that works. So although I don't recommend playing flat-fingered, I'm going to do this just to kind of show you from the top-down camera here. So we're just going to take these two fingers. Now, while my second finger plays a note, my right finger is up. Now, while I push this note down, this finger comes up. I'm going to go back and forth now. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, I've been doing that all along. I don't see the difference in like the playing style. Well, that's the thing. Most people play with kind of a slur anyway. They're going from one note to the next and not putting a break in between. But let me give you an example of what it sounds like when you don't play with a slur than when you do play with a slur. And I'm going to take the same exact speed. I'm not going to go any different as far as the speed goes. I'll go ahead and clap on my lap while I do it. So this is without a slur. You can hear there's a little bit of silence. Now this is with the slur. So now let's take a look at seesaws and see how the slurs work in seesaws. So the first two measures are all one big slur. Now notice how the line is starting on the D and it goes all the way over to that half note F, the very end of the second measure. That's just telling you to slur from the D's to the E's back and forth, and then you slur all the way up to that F at the end of the second measure. Then if we go to the left hand also has a slur over all of the notes, and that left hand is playing an F to an E back and forth till finally we get to that D half note at the very, very end. And all of those are going to be connected notes. You don't want to separate them and make them sound detached. They want to be connected together. The last thing that's really great about a slur is that it actually indicates where a phrase is. And remember, a phrase is a musical sentence. So the first phrase of this piece is in the right hand, and it's the first two measures. That's the first statement or the first musical phrase. And then in the left hand, that's the second phrase, the second musical sentence that happens in this piece. And they're indicated by those slurs right there. So it's a great way to find a phrase and just practice a phrase. So let's go ahead and try this out. This one, by the way, has a fantastic duet, so I highly recommend you try the bonus material at the end of this lesson today. All right, let's go ahead and try it out. So it starts with the right hand finger number 2 here on D. We start with a D, and it goes up to an E, and then back down to a D again. E again, then we go to D, and then E, then we have F for 2 counts, F, 2. Now the left hand comes in with F, finger number 2, F, down to E. We're making connected notes, F, E, up to F again, and then we have an E, then we have a D for 2 counts, 1, 2, then we switch back to the right hand again, and we play D, E because of the repeat sign. All right, so that's what the notes are. Okay, so now's the time to pause the video and try this out for just a little bit, and I will see you in a minute. Okay, so how did you do? Was it a little tougher than you thought it was going to be? When you start to think about how you perform the notes, not just what the note names are and what the rhythms are, and you start to think about, okay, well, dynamics and, oh, wait a minute, this is a slur. There's a lot more factors involved than just reading the right note name, getting the right rhythm. So really focus on the slur this week on this particular piece, and do try out that duet. It sounds really, really pretty with the duet. Now it's time to write down the assignment. So the first thing you're going to be writing down here is on page 33 here. We're going to be doing position C. Now this one, I want you to say those letter names out loud as well as the counts. That's going to be part of getting it that one time perfect. Next up is a happy song on page 34. Now with a happy song, you're going to have a lot more to work on this week as far as reading the note names and switching from hand to hand. Remember to not just practice it from the beginning to end. Also work on just switching hands, using the metronome, using the play along that I'm providing for you. And then, of course, the ultimate goal is for you to practice this with the duet part. And lastly, we have seesaws, which is on page 35. And seesaws, the main focus this week is, of course, to play the slur and get a nice connected feel from one note to the next. This is one that you're going to want to practice not just with my play along, but then also by yourself with the metronome, really concentrating on moving from one finger to the next very smoothly and very connected. And then there is also a duet at the end in the bonus footage that you can try out that makes this song very, very pretty to play. Okay, so that's it for this week. I'm going to go ahead and do the bonus footage now. I'm very proud of everything that you've done so far. If you've made it this far in the video series, that's a month and a half of playing the piano and working on all of this material. It's quite an accomplishment. And now you're starting to read music all the way through from beginning to end with both the right hand and the left hand. It's pretty impressive stuff, so I hope you're proud of yourself. Anyways, good job this week, and let's go ahead and try out those duets. 1, 2, ready, play. G, F, E, D, E, F, G, 2 right hand, F, E, D, E, F, 2, 3, 4 left hand, G, F, E, D right hand, E, D, E, F left hand, G, F, E, D, C, 2, 3, 4. Repeat left hand, G, F, E, D, E, F, G. 2 right hand, F, E, D, E, F, 2, 3, 4. Left hand, G, G, F, E, D. Right hand, E, E, D, E, F, left hand, G, F, E, D, C, 2, 3, 4. One, two, ready, play. One, two, ready, play. D, E, D, E, D, E, F, 2, left hand, F, E, F, E, F, E, D, 2, repeat, D, E, D, E, D, E, F, 2, F, E, F, E, F, E, D, 2. Really quickly, before I perform these duets for you, the happy song is actually supposed to be performed by you 2 octaves higher than it's written. So when you practice it, just practice it in the normal C position. But then when you perform it with the duet, this is where you're supposed to be. Here's the normal C position. Then you move up 1 C position and then 2 C positions. You can also kind of move yourself over and center yourself around that position. You don't have to play with your left and right hand all the way to the side for this piece. All right, let's try it out. One, two, ready, play. G, F, E, D, E, F, G, 2, F, E, D, E, F, 2, 3, 4, G, F, E, D, E, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. G, F, E, D, E, F, G, 2, F, E, D, E, F, 2, 3, 4, G, F, E, D, E, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, 2, 3, 4. One, two, ready, play. One, two, ready, play. D, E, D, E, D, E, F, 2, F, E, F, E, F, E, D, 2, repeat. D, E, D, E, D, E, F, 2, F, E, F, E, F, E, D, 2. One, two, ready, play. Okay, so this week what we're going to do is we're going to work on a little bit of phrasing for our composition lesson. In the right hand here, we're going to do 5 notes. We're going to choose 5 notes in the right hand, and we're going to choose 5 notes in the left hand. The first thing we're going to do is just create 5 random notes that are not in order of the alphabet. So in the right hand here, in C position, I'm going to do D, E, D, F, G, let's say. So D, E, D, F, G. Okay, now in the left hand, I'm going to try to answer that by making the first note of my phrase be the last note of my left hand phrase. So I did this. Let's see what I'll do in the left hand is, let's see. You know what? Let's try this. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So E, F, G, E, D. Notice how I didn't get it right away because I was really trying to think about the first melody and what that sounded like and how to answer it and what I heard in my head. That's one thing that I want you to try doing this week, is seeing if you can create a second phrase off of the first phrase. Really hear what you're trying to play in your head. Let's do a repeat. And that's how you create 2 phrases. And we call that a question and answer set of phrases. So I have the question in my right hand, and then I have the answer in my left hand. And the left hand tries to create a phrase that sounds like the end of a sentence or the end of a song. So have some fun with that this week. You can even create lyrics with it and just kind of play around with the idea of just creating a 5-note phrase in the right hand, 5-note phrase in the left hand. You don't even have to stick to C position. You can try moving up the piano, moving down. You could go to, like, let's say putting your thumb on A and your left hand, pinky on A. That would be kind of an A position. Or you could even try 2 different hand positions in 2 different spots. Your right hand thumb could be on E and play those notes, and the left hand could be, let's say, on a G with the pinky and just play in that hand position. Just try to create some melodies that way. You can always just write down the letter names. You don't have to write down the notation right now. That way you can remember your ideas. Also, the other thing that you can do is just turn on the iPad or a cell phone on the voice memo and record yourself creating these melodies. That way you can listen back and come up with ideas that way and try to mimic what you did in the recording yesterday or whatever. You can always have an archive of just your compositions and your ideas that you're coming up with. So have some fun with that this week. Hope you had a great time playing this lesson this week, and I will see you next week. Take care.